All right, so I am the LinkedIn rock star. Thank you for that, Ben. I have been to 1,000 concerts, and I have ticket stubs from about 700 of them still. I've got demos around here. $6 Bob Marley ticket is my favorite one from 75, I think. And, if you're a rock star, you got to really put up numbers. So I hit 30,000 connections on LinkedIn a long time ago. I'm maxed out on Facebook with friends, a little bit under. Got a room for a few more people and stuff. But the environment that I work in is one where the tradition of time in the business, you're not the new guy on the block. I've been doing this longer than anybody. I'm the very first trainer in the country. And when I went to go find training, there was none, so I built it. And I've proceeded to go down every little thing you could possibly do and reverse engineer all you could do on LinkedIn back in 2004. And frankly, that wasn't much. All you could do is profiles and a little bit of searching. But it's come a long ways, and I've seen everything come and go. I'm in the stages right now of my book here on campaigns. It's called Campaign, obviously. And those are the books that Ben was talking about earlier and stuff. Fitting in and standing out is the principle behind those books. How to look the part on LinkedIn so you get invited to the party, you're on the search list, you traffic coming in, but you're the one that gets clicked. You're the good guy. So I don't want to assume that you all understand why LinkedIn's so important. I could dive right on in. I speak at a lot of audiences where it's a given, it's a social media conference. You don't have to make the case for why LinkedIn is important, but I'm going to make a little bit of a case here. So right around half of the employees, not employees, about half of the users, people in the United States are on LinkedIn. Half the population, 50-50, they're on LinkedIn. How many young and old people are? You take the bell curve and you throw out the highs and the lows, and you're pretty much certain that who you're looking for out there is on LinkedIn, at least if they're at a certain age, millennial or higher. And people are there because that's where they find their B2B customers. They don't generally find B2C customers. If people needing a mortgage, don't put out on LinkedIn that I need a mortgage. But people in the mortgage business are easy to find. And folks that feed them, people who are, realtors or other folks in other sectors out there that work well together are easy to find here, really easy. One of the biggest side effects and side benefits is the data that comes from LinkedIn. The data that's out there is usually their current email address, their current company. It's not old like it is if you buy a list or go to a list service or so. This data is really important if you do things outside of LinkedIn too, like email and stuff, Gee, email, wouldn't it be nice to have an email address? Yeah, I'll make that go a little better. So you could pretty much find whatever you want in there. You just got to know how to look for it. There's little things that you put in to get things out. And if you look in the right places, you're going to find it. It's also a place where you can project a really powerful look and feel and image for your company. You can look bigger than you are. A good graphic person and a content writer and stuff. And wow, you're right up there with the big boys potentially, because they have the same page you do. There's pages out here, and I'll show you what a company has. They have a page. Now, there's different motivations that people have. Not everyone comes to it from the same spot. One of the biggest motivations is to be found. These are the people who are not active. They're not going out. They're waiting for other people to find them. It's like a billboard. They've got great profiles. Maybe they're telling people, call me, but they are not initiating the action. They're waiting to be asked out on a date. Okay. Very, very much, very important part there. The passive users, as we say. So LinkedIn has a special relationship with Google, a very one. In fact, the very special relationship puts somebody's name at the top of the Google search on just about any name. John Smith, well, guess what? There's some Johns there at the top. Now, I'm an author, so I get a special panel on the right-hand side. It's called the Google Knowledge Panel. And if you're an author, you get that. If you're a politician or a rock star or something, there's just have to be, eligible to be in Wikipedia to be able to claim this on the right-hand side. But notice, even if it wasn't me at the top, I'm still in number 2 here. If I'm not that Mike O'Neill, maybe I'm one of these others. So even you see the website shows up as number 4. So Not big motivation for a lot of people though. It comes down to this. It comes down to money. If it costs me money, I don't know. If it makes me money, haha. Okay. If it makes me more money than it costs me, now you're talking. So if I put a few dollars in and get a lot more out, that's the idea here. You know, your time is money too. So when I talk about putting money in, I'm talking about your time as well. Now, everyone knows that LinkedIn is good for your career, or you should know that this is where the recruiters are hanging out. And if you're 30 years old and a programmer, you'd know damn well what I'm talking about. They're swamping you on LinkedIn with offers to come write code at my company. There's certain industries that are particularly popular right now. Not everybody needs to be involved. Okay, not everybody. The folks in your business that are mowing lawns out there don't need to be involved in LinkedIn. If you're just, your internal accountants don't need to be involved out there. But there are certain audiences that really do matter. First of all, right at the top. Hey, the boss has got to look the part. Sorry, the boss has got to look the part. If the boss doesn't and other people do, then, you know, it isn't flowing in the right direction. Precedent should flow down. Now, the marketing team, you expect the marketing team to have, you know, some pretty good savvy on LinkedIn, and they do. They know their stuff on LinkedIn. They got good profiles. They're doing posts. They're doing all kinds of stuff. Okay. They're always on it. The sales team, absolutely. And the sales team will do whatever it takes to get the deal sometimes. This is actually from a trade show, I believe, or a client show. And this sales team out here wanted to get the attention of somebody, and they did through my presentation. The recruiting team, they have a special version called LinkedIn Recruiter. So I'll be talking about a sales version here called Sales Navigator, but there's a special version that's actually quite pricey, $500 a month on up for most folks, for recruiters, and they can't live without it. They cannot live without it. This is the biggest revenue stream for LinkedIn, is the recruiting market and the products they sell to them, because people post jobs and the recruiters come in. They got that whole thing going on. They're more important than Indeed and Monster and those others. Just ask anybody, any recruiter. Hey, without my LinkedIn, I couldn't survive. But, you know, in a lot of cases, it's not all of that. You know, that's part of what you do, and that's part what I do, and that one is, and that one is. It's all you. And I'm going to assume here, okay, for the rest of the presentation, that this is you, okay? I'm not going to assume that you're a person on a team with management structure up above you. This presentation is primarily for the entrepreneurial spirit, okay? It applies well to other things, but you should realize that this is the goal here, okay? These are the folks I'm most aimed to please. And if this is you, well, I hope you're pleased. So we got to find out what you want. Well, I said motivations, right, at one time, you know. So in determining what you want, there's a little bit of looking in the mirror here. I'm somewhere in the middle here. I'm a little bit of left brain and right brain. I have a colorful imaginary side to me out here, very colorful. But I'm also a data guy, and you'll see all this system structure in here and stuff, logic. So this is a combination of both, but you'll kind of know which side you are and which you're not. If you're a logic sort of person, you might need to buy services from the right side. And if you're a colorful person, you might need to buy or get some other way services from the left, because you're not the CRM guy. You're the one who does the post. Both of them come into play here, okay? You know, targets on the left, the messages on the right. Messages are colorful and pretty, and the targeting is like a spreadsheet or a database. So one of the other things that people want are leads. Now, these are sales leads. They might be leads for all kinds of things. Let's just leave it in the term of leads in general, and you define how that is for you. For me, it's sales leads. But for other folks out there, it's relationships that matter most. So if it's relationships that matter most, then you have a different outlook on LinkedIn. You really do things differently than if you have a monetary bent about you. People can smell if you're out for the money or not. You know, the relationships lead to leads, but sometimes it's better to start with this principle. So fundamentally another thing that people want from this, and they sometimes they don't know they want it because they don't know it's possible, but they want data to come from their campaigns. Okay, from LinkedIn, from the work that they do, the things on LinkedIn. Wouldn't it be great if that data got into my Outlook or into my Gmail or into my CRM system? Okay? And that data that comes from LinkedIn is about 2 steps removed from being into those sort of systems if you follow what we're doing here. Okay? So what you want versus what you need. In the what you need front, you need some time. Now you need time to learn it, or you need time to manage it, or you need time to sub it out, to read the reports, you need time to respond, you need some amount of time. Okay. I'm gonna say that 30 minutes a day is a good amount of time to spend on this. So if you're wondering, Mike, what kind of time are you talking about out there? 30 minutes a day. Yeah. And if you miss a day, so what? It doesn't mean the next day is necessarily 60 minutes, okay? But try to put 30 minutes a day in, all right? But 30 minutes a day doing what? Well, there's a little bit of knowledge, and you're going to get some of that knowledge here today. And what do I do with my 30 minutes? You know, how do I spend my time? How do I spend my time most effectively? Not how do I just spend my time? And part of that is implementing some systems that do some of this for you, perhaps. Because if you're going to get busy out here, it's really nice not to handwrite letters, but to word process them. It's really nice to have a drill instead of a screwdriver, or an electric saw instead of a hand saw. There's elements here that take to systemization really well. And that's the end here. We kind of end with systems. So I'm going to show you what goes into systems and how that all works here in just a moment. But in order to do the things we want to do, we need the right tools. Okay, LinkedIn itself has 11 filters, and they're good ones. I'll show you. Okay, there's a free version. You can pay more money, get a paid version. And then there's a Sales Navigator version that we're going to pay more attention to here. It's $80 a month. You get a free month trial. I'd like anyone who's using Premium or Sales Navigator to tell me here. Unmute yourself and tell me what you're using. Ben, can you ask around on this? Folks?
Ben, you're muted still. You have to unmute yourself.
Or Shane, you can ask. I just need someone to let me know who's using a premium version or has used any of these products. Anybody?
This is Wayne. I paid for a premium version and subsequently did absolutely nothing with it, so it's a complete waste of money.
Got it. So the premium.
But that was my fault.
Okay, keep going around the circle here. Thank you, Wayne. I'll come back to that. Anyone else?
I've got Sales Navigator.
And who is that?
Sorry, that's Ben.
Oh, Ben does. I'm sorry. I saw it, Ben. I saw when you spoke. Oh, so Ben does. You kind of don't count in this. Okay.
This is James. I also paid for premium some time back. I didn't know what to do with it, and so I didn't really get my money's worth either.
Okay. Anyone else? Okay. So premium, when you pay $60 for premium, all you get is a little bit more of the features you already get. You don't gain 18 features. You just get more of the 11 features that you already get. It's a really poor value. It doesn't do much for you. You wouldn't hardly notice if you had it or not because the screens all look the same except you're paying $60 a month. I'm going to show you some Sales Navigator stuff, but I'll compare it. You get to see both of it here. Okay. So who to target? Who do we want to go after? This is a big component to this here is you know, we want to in our efforts out here target just the right people, not try to find anybody. We're not looking for a conversation just because we're desperate for one. We want very specific people. You got to kind of know your audience, right? And knowing your audience means kind of looking deep inside of people here. This is old photo here, but this in this audience here, the audience here is people with hats. Do you agree? Here's my audience, people with hats. Okay. So in LinkedIn, our audience is generally found through a search. So we put things in the LinkedIn and then we get things out of it. So we put in criteria for the search. Well, what are those sort of criteria? You've seen this, everybody, right? You know, list of job titles with some stuff in between them. That's called Boolean. It goes back to the 1850s in the UK. Mr. Booley created this form of early programming. This is really programming back in the mid 1800s. So in the context of this, there's another feature out here that's in Sales Navigator only. Now, this is in everything. Everyone can do Boolean. You can do it on both sides, LinkedIn or Sales Navigator. But you can only do this sort of filter where it's really simple and easy. Yeah, give me them. Yeah, give me them, without going through this whole coding process. Okay. This is better, but this is easier. Okay. And frankly, sometimes you do a combination of both. Another thing that's nice about Sales Navigator is being able to hone in on people that either might or might not be millennials in the broad sense. I want experienced folks, or I specifically don't. I have clients that specifically don't want anyone with more than 3 years experience because they're going after a specific market. But for the most part, if you could single out folks that are brand new to the business, you usually find that makes the results a little bit better at the end. So you might kind of pick maybe 3 years or more, or 6, or 10 plus. Most of our clients do 6 plus or 10 plus. So in our criteria, we're on that bandwagon now. Where somebody is, their location matters a great deal. For most folks, this is a huge one here. Okay, so I want folks in my city. So Ben, if Ben, let's say Ben wants to do, wants to target Colorado. Well, he would have to pick, or he would pick Denver and Fort Collins and Colorado Springs and so on. You pick all the cities. In doing that, you still miss a few people. You know, you miss the folks in Canyon City because there's where the big prison is. Okay, don't sweat that. But you get the idea that if you could do more, like pick the whole state, that would be a little easier. Or if you're in a big city, I'm in San Francisco, we just want, you know, North Bay. Okay, with Sales Navigator, you can get more picky about stuff. Okay, and a big component of what I'm preaching today is being picky on who you reach out to. Okay, and then being systematic with those people you're being picky with. Another part about being picky is what size of company might you work with. You know, people at home, you know, there's a certain way to filter them out. 1 to 10 employees is the way we do that. Usually we filter them out versus in. Most folks want folks somewhere in the middle, you know, 10 to 500 or 1,000 employees, but not 3M at 200,000 and not Betty Sue here at her home desk. So Sales Navigator lets you kind of pick where in the spectrum for how big of the company you want to work for. This is the feature that gets most people saying, I got to have Sales Navigator. It's not in premium. So you get these extra features in SNAV, as we say, that you don't get in premium. This used to be part of that premium program, folks, and it's not anymore. It was stripped out of there. They kept charging $60 for it and took these features away. And this is one that they took away. One of the most important parts in the process here really is people's industries. We're whittling down all the folks on LinkedIn to find just the ones we want. And people in certain industries, you know, are more attractive than others. I don't work with government. Law enforcement means nothing to me. Jewelry means nothing to me. But computer hardware and computer software mean a lot. So but if you don't specify any industries at all, you get all of them. So you're getting babysitters and rocket scientists all in the same search unless you pick out industries. And LinkedIn is on the left, and you can see there's 5 there, and there's 147. Where are the other 142? What are their names? What do we do? I'm going to give you access to a list where you can download the industry list, and it'll be really helpful. Even on Sales Navigator, you can only see like 8 at a time here. There's 147. You scroll and scroll. The tool at the end, the site that I take you to the end, has a really nice tool for helping you guide through your industry targeting. Now you'll find in your results out there, no matter what, that there's going to be some disqualifiers. Retired people and assistants, for example. Some folks don't like franchisees. But these are ways to eliminate folks that are still on LinkedIn. They got words in their profile that qualify, but they also got words that disqualify. not intern is another one that goes in here sometimes. This is how you scrub the list with software as best you can. You want to create searches that do the best job they can to include just the folks you want. Right state, the right industry, the right titles, all that stuff, but not the folks you don't want. And this is how you do it. Remember, we'll go back here. See, you're layering this down. Yep. You're layering that down one after another to get into something that looks like this. This is a LinkedIn search that shows you kind of how those criteria I just mentioned lay out on the big list. And this list is actually a little bit longer. There's some more criteria down below. So I'll contrast LinkedIn and Sales Navigator for you in a little bit. You can get to see it side by side. So I always get asked, all right, so that kind of, I understand the things that kind of need to be done a little bit now. I get a little bit. But what happens and when does it happen? You know, what goes first? Okay, where do you begin? What's the very start of things? Well, the very start of things is you got some settings on LinkedIn that you want to adjust. So there's privacy settings, communication settings. There's stuff to do there. Not going to get into the weeds on there, but there's about 5 or 8 things that are really important there. And those are things that you might ask me about personally. I just don't want to cover them here because it's not as important as other stuff. Your profile is super important. That's the next thing. Your settings first, and then your profile updates. And your profile needs to look good, particularly at a glance. You see this on the top up here? That's the glance, okay? You got to look good on top, because if you don't look good on top, it doesn't matter what they see down below. And in a moment here, I'll show you, well, just a moment right now, what it means in terms of your digital footprint. Look at that. You see it says Presidents, Tatera, CRM. Well, when he or anybody comments or likes or follows or posts or anything, this is what you show other people. So that's why you want to doll it up here. Make that Presidents, Tatera part look really good, because that's where they're going to see it. They're not going to see the rest of the profile. The image in the back doesn't matter. That's what matters most. If there's only 2 things that you do, good picture, you know, get your name in there, right? I don't agree with Jackie Lapin over here. I put that in on purpose. Her last name is Lapin, author, speakers, get leads, get booked. You know, I don't recommend that, okay? Follow the other folks. PhD is fine. You want to be thinking when you're doing your profile about SEO, about being, you know, caught up in the searches, okay? You want people to search and find you in general. But we're not going to rely on inbound activity here. I'm not here to show you how to set up a good billboard and sit and wait for people to come to it. That's not what this is about. This is about going out to find people, but you got to look good. If you look good to SEO, you look good to people who arrive there. They want to see certain words as well. Your target audience does. Now, as you have a profile, your company has something similar. It's called a company page, and it's free. A LinkedIn company page takes less than an hour to do. Seriously, a regular everyday person who's just got a little bit of LinkedIn experience. All right, maybe a little bit more. You know, if you got 1,000 connections or more, you can do a company page. If you got 500 or more, I bet you can do it. But easy, if they walk you through it with literally with a wizard now that helps you do that. This is what a company page looks like. So you got to put an image at the top. You got to put an address in, a name. There's a little about page down here where you paste in, you know, what our company does right from your website, or right from your profile, perhaps. You know, word it up a little bit, but you can see now all the employees at the company. So this is a client of ours. So Tatera has 177 employees. We went through and made sure that all of their employees knew how to go make sure that they count as one of those employees. There's a little trick on your profile to make sure it happens. And we went through an exercise with Tatera to make sure that happens. We also found folks at Tatera that did not belong on their profile, and that's a separate project to try to get them off of it. You know, freeloaders on my company page. So this is a really important key point here. This is a pivot. I want to ask if there's any questions thus far, because I'm going to dive into some stuff here. I don't have any sleeves to roll up because I got a short sleeve shirt, but this is a great question and answer time here. We're right at the halfway point, and it's going to get technical here. It's going to get really interesting and fun. If there's something that you don't understand enough here, please ask a question. Shane, why don't you run the board here for us? I'll look at the text here as well. Here's the chat window. Average income on LinkedIn. Average income on LinkedIn is actually going down. And the reason it's going down is because more and more people at entry-level positions are joining LinkedIn, but you're in that $60,000 to $80,000 range. The last I saw was in the 60s, but before that it was in the 80s. And it's not because people on LinkedIn are making less money, they're making more, but more entry-level workers are coming into it. And they've got $25,000, $35,000, $40,000 incomes. Really good incomes out there in general, but you know, the executive teams, like I say, they're always out there. The lawn mowing folks that make 12 bucks an hour, they're not. Any questions from anybody thus far?
Hey, Mike, this is James. If this is not the right time for the question, just let me know. But because I have a day job and then I have my side business and they're separate entities, at some point I'd like to hear your thoughts on how do I kind of address both of those in my profile.
Okay, so you have two current jobs on your profile. So you have one job that has when you started on that to present. You have another job when you started on that to present. And you get to decide which one goes on top and which one goes second. But you have two simultaneous jobs. You don't work it into one entry. That's a good, this is the time for those sort of questions right here. Any others I'll take? If they're in the chat window, just read them to me here.
I don't see any in the chat window, so
Hey, Mike, why don't you talk about the importance of, or like how experienced LinkedIn users like myself, how we look at mutual connections and the importance of having 500 plus connections as opposed to being like 320, 450, 120, you know, that sort of thing.
It's a good point. I actually had that in the presentation and took it out because I didn't know if it applied, and it does. Okay, so I'll put it back in actually for next round. If you don't have 500 connections on LinkedIn, you're looked down upon as there's something inferior about you, or you're so damn important that you've really blocking things up. Bill Gates has a small network, but I'm connected to Barack Obama. I'm even connected to John McCain, the late John McCain. So there's all different sorts of thoughts on this and all. But what we do for our clients when they come on board is I invite folks that are called LinkedIn Lions. They connect to anybody. And I invite LinkedIn Lions to connect for my clients in as much in their industry or area or whatever, mostly in their area, not industry, mostly in their area. So we get them up to 500 plus connections quickly so we can start our campaign process that we're about to roll up our sleeves on and discuss here. So was there another part to that question?
I was just going to say, is there any general rules of etiquette in LinkedIn that's different from, say, I don't know, Twitter or Facebook? I mean, I've always told people this is more of a professional as opposed to, hey, look at my cat and what I ate yesterday.
Yeah, so Twitter, so Twitter and Facebook tend to be more of a posting environment where people are sharing things with people and all. LinkedIn does do that. But the stuff I'm going to talk to you about here is one-to-one. It's going into their inbox. It's not posted. These are private conversations that are had, not posts with comments and shares and likes and all that. It's a little bit different environment. So James had a question about the accountant stuff. I think I got that covered. The 500 plus, I think I got that covered. I'm going to jump into really cool stuff here. So, let me take a breath. Are you ready? Do you feel the excitement? Because it is. It's pretty exciting. We have three target sets. Okay, we have three sets of targets, three types of targets that we're going to go after here. The first one is really easy. The folks we're already connected to. We want to engage the folks that we're already connected to on LinkedIn and just say hi. Been a while since we talked. It's the lowest hanging fruit there is. And that conversation goes kind of like this. It's been a while since we've spoken, whatever. In my case, I want to give people a little bit of state of the art. If they like, do a 30-minute call. Here's schedule a call right down here. Really easy. That's the lowest hanging fruit there. These folks you're already connected to, because you can freely send them a message. There's all kinds of things you can do. So, So that's what that message looks like. The next thing are folks that we should be connected to, but we're not. I'll bet that all of you folks here, you're not all connected to Ben on LinkedIn, but you should be, don't you think? So Ben would be in this category of my existing contacts. Well, how many other Bens are there that I should be connected to? People that would feel really bad if they got a message that said, "Dear Ben," and said, "My name is John." Yes, Ben, I know, we golf together, or whatever. So you want to avoid those uncomfortable situations of reaching out to people that you already know with language that sounds like you don't. And it's really easy to do. Here's my situation. If these are existing contacts and they should know you, don't even send a custom invite. Just click connect. Connect. Make it easy on yourself. There's no reason whatsoever. You're not putting them on a campaign. You're not starting up something. You're just making sure that they don't get an uncomfortable email that puts you both in a situation. Okay? So just not even the generic invite that says, "Welcome to join my network." Just the connect button and go, connect and go, connect and go. All right. So you find these people all over, right? You business card piles. I got them all over here, but all my business card piles here have all been invited, or I've chosen not to invite them. It's one of the first things I do when I get business cards. I do it even before I leave the event. Do you know how I really wow someone when you invite them to connect at an event and they'd go, yes, and they connect right there. I mean, I end up talking to those people at conferences, but I'm in the business. I get that. I'm in the business a little bit. But when you've got these names and all, it's a little hard sometimes if you've got a common name to be able to find those folks. So you might need to add a little bit more to it to find some of these common folks. Okay, so we got our folks here on our lists out there. We're going to find them. We're going to invite them. But sooner or later, we got to start now. I'm the Amway guy, and I'm already selling to all my neighbors, all my friends. Now I got to find strangers, okay? People that I don't already know, not low-hanging fruit anymore. This is where I'm going to show you a process and a system called the time system. And the time system breaks down this process of systemizing all into something that makes it really easy to understand and do. It really does. The time system finds targets, the searches that are as good as we could possibly get, all the right words and all that in, great list. Then we scrub that list. We include just the folks we want. We're going to kick out the folks we don't. We're going to send messages to people, and the ones that respond, we're going to engage in conversations, going to put a little data in our CRM system. This is how it works, kind of from beginning to end. So the reason it's so powerful is there's a long-term value to this. You know, LinkedIn connections are worth something long-term, especially really good ones. A database, wow, that's even nicer. If you ever sell your company, the database goes with the company. It's more valuable for someone to buy if you've got more data, a database of customers. If your employees, by the way, are taking their database with them because their LinkedIn is going with them and they're not leaving any of that data behind, you know, you might want to rethink that a little bit. So I made the case for Sales Navigator. I made a pretty good case already. Let's keep going. So I want to identify, because we're going to need Sales Navigator for what we're doing here. So I want to show you what the basics are of a campaign. A campaign are people we want to find, right? You know, right? Just the right folks. We're going to invite them to connect after we find them. We'll send them some messages after they connect. We'll deal with the folks that respond with a nice message or who knows what. However we respond, we'll go over that. We'll do responses and stuff. This is called it. So later on when I say, who does it? Or what is it? This is it. Finding new people, connecting, messaging, responding, that kind of stuff. This is it. So I'm not going to repeat all 4 steps. We're just going to plug in it later. I said it started with targeting. So you cast a pretty wide net at first when you're doing searches out there to find what the possible size of that audience is. Okay? And then you apply a few more criteria to reel it in a little bit. So it's a smaller audience. Okay. So we want not the big part, we want just the folks that we do. So it's good to know how big your gross audience is, but then you got to refine it down to the folks you want. And there's 2 categories of connections. Folks you're really connected to, and then what they call second and third level connections. I can't invite someone who I'm already connected to, and I can't message someone that I'm not. We want to move 3s and 2s into 1s. We want folks that are not connected to us to become part of our network so we can do more stuff with them. So in LinkedIn, this is a search in LinkedIn that's kind of common. An executive level title in a city, in a certain industry. Okay. So this is a pretty common basic search. Now notice even I have a Sales Navigator account, so I can just click on over. LinkedIn will give you an ad to go buy Sales Navigator and try to get you to, get a trial over there in the upper right corner. But in Sales Navigator, you can do a lot more. And by a lot more, I mean, the head count alone is a killer there. It's just fantastic. I don't want solopreneurs. I only work with folks that are willing to spend 10, 20, 30 grand. Well, that's not a person living at home. Okay. And the big companies up there, they want to buy systems out there that scale to thousands of users. If you don't sell that, now you're somewhere else in the spectrum. This is a common search for me here. I look for folks with 6 or more years of experience in Denver, this size of company. I like the ownership level, that kind of stuff. That's my kind of search. Now, that search creates a gross list, our big, great list of people out there. We want to be picky in terms of who from that list actually gets to go forward. We're going to sort of interview each person on that list and decide if they're included or excluded. Generally speaking, you start out with everyone included and you scratch them off the list using our techniques here. You don't have to put 25 people on a list or 20 out of 25 in a search. You would essentially just scratch 5 people off. It's really fun to kick people off a list. It's really an arduous process to put them on. So we put everyone from the search on a list, and then you can scrub it and take out the folks you don't. It'd be pretty common on a typical search screen that had 25 people on it to eliminate maybe 5 people. So of the 25 that you get to see on each page, you might cut 5 of them out of the equation. They look too small, they don't have a picture, something like that. I'm talking about scrubbing, and scrubbing can be sexy. No, I know it's not, okay? Scrubbing is not sexy, and it's just a matter of checking boxes and unchecking boxes. Yay, they make it great, 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 great. No, it's not like that. It's really boring stuff. Okay. But it goes fast. It goes fast. Scrubbing lists go fast. Okay. And once you do, you have an approved list. This list, everyone on this list is approved for everything I'm going to do. If not, go back and scrub some more. You've got a bona fide list here. You agree that these actions are going to be going against this carefully scrubbed list. So that list of folks are going to get some messages from us. This is M in the time system, targeting, including messaging. So these messages here go exactly to those targets there. Real estate messages to real estate people, software messages to software people. But these messages are designed to get a conversation going after people connect and all. So I'll kind of go over the process here, but the process is one of trying to bring people closer to you through words. And Ben, here's my quick little political statement there. That's for you, buddy. The idea is these conversations that are pure words need to feel like this. We use really special words to bring people in. All right. So this is a standard campaign that happens. When we talk about remember I said it, this is it. We invite people we don't know to connect. We send them some messages that might lead to an article or to a video or something. Eventually ask them if they'd like to have a conversation with us. This is the standard kind of campaign that happens. Now, the campaign puts into it messages, and it puts into it targets, a scrub list, the zipper. Remember, that's the inputs that goes into this. What comes out of it, the first big thing that comes out of it, is responses. And these are some real responses for me, for my campaigns, no less. Some folks like it, some don't. And there's a series of processes that you have to go through with each of these responders. With the positive ones up there, I'm going to show you a little bit more, but on the negative side, you've essentially got to opt that person out. You got to take them out of whatever list they're on. You don't want to next month reach out to them again and say, I'm sorry I reached out to you again. I'm really sorry a third time. you have to take steps to essentially opt them out of your processes here if they choose not to. And that's kind of tricky sometimes. I'll tell you that that is indeed tricky. The best way is just to not connect to them anymore. I can't send to people I'm not connected to. And in some cases you have to. I thought about it and doing it with Steve here, might have to eventually here because he's easily get caught up in another search. The technology on LinkedIn doesn't help you create an opt-out list. There's no such thing as a do not send list that you can use. You can add a system tag on it that says don't send to this person, but you can't software-wise do that and exclude them. So we love responders. I do. It's all about responses. That's why. You put all that stuff in. If you put all that stuff in and didn't get any responses, you probably wouldn't do it. Now, you get some data out of it, some other reasons, that you might, but for the most part, this is why people do stuff. And when we deal with responders, generally speaking, we're going to reply to their response. We're going to respond to the responder, right? And it's just right back here. They can see the message above. You get a conversation thread going. When you connect to folks, you also get an email from them. You might choose to send an email. You might choose to do both. And that's the new trend. Send a message that confirms on LinkedIn, thanks for connecting. Also giving them the option to have a relationship with you over email. This is a really hot ticket here. And going with that hot ticket is in Sales Navigator, saving people to a lead list. There's a bunch of features to a lead list here. I'm just not going to go deep and down on it because I see where our time is and stuff. But this is what you would do. You would send a message back, perhaps send an email, but probably put them on a list here so you can monitor them going forward. So if you didn't know, I'm a Who fan. I just saw them in concert again. By the way, had a whole orchestra and everything. Got a new album coming out. Their new single is called Zero Ground Zero. They played it with an orchestra and everything. I love the Who. But in the who does it part, for the most part, it falls to you. It falls to you first, and then you can figure out find someone else to do it. But it falls to you. You got to learn what's part of it here if you're going to have anybody else do any of this stuff for you. I love an assistant who does this. We work with a lot of our clients have an assistant, and the three of us kind of divide up who does what. Oh, you do that, I do this, and over time, things move around a little bit. The assistant might take on more duties over time. You might hire a vendor, okay? For example, we're a vendor. We're a vendor. We do these services for people on an ongoing basis, not just training them up on how to do it for themselves, but we can do parts of it or all of it ongoing for you. So we're getting into the really meaty stuff. This is real beefy stuff. It is to me. I have a lot of enthusiasm anyway, but I really dig this stuff. The how part. I'm a systems engineer. I'm a network engineer and industrial engineer. So I thrive on this. Where to use a machine, where to use a person, where to. In the end, it's about money. But along the way here, we have lots of things that we put into the system and people who have to do certain parts of it. There's nothing fully automated about everything, but you can automate many aspects of it. This is generally the things that you tend to automate. I want to send invites to people. When they connect, I want to send messages, maybe a couple, maybe a lot. When people respond, I'm going to work with them on the inbox and stuff and make sure that the folks that do respond, the reason I do this in the first place, I follow up on that. And in the end, if you've got a system tool, you can get data for other systems. So this is what some of these system tools look like. On the left is you on LinkedIn, logging into LinkedIn. There's tools that can run on your local computer, and they have names like Duck Soup or Meet Leonard and stuff. I don't recommend those, and LinkedIn especially doesn't like them, but they're $20, $30, $40 a month, and they run on your computer, and your computer's tied up doing other things. All kinds of things can go wrong. Okay? But they created a whole industry, and they deserve recognition for that. I recommend and I work with tools that run in the cloud. They run as another computer, not your computer. So there's a data center in New York City or somewhere that's logged in as you on LinkedIn. It's running a little script that says, let's invite someone now. And 10 minutes later, let's send a message. And 17 minutes later do that and all. They just kind of act like you would during whatever hours of the day you might normally work. Generally, it's 8 to 5, or 5 a.m. to 9 p.m. without a break. Those tools there cost $75 to $197. Okay, so I have two particular products. $75 to $200 are these tools on the right. And all of these scrape data and put them into systems, but the systems, if you don't like uploading and downloading CSV files and renaming files and wonder where is the file and what is it, and you open it up and you find, the cloud tools do a much better job. They create a Google Sheet where the data is just sitting there automatically for you. Now, there's quite a bit of configuration that we do for clients to get the data there, but it looks really simple and sweet on your side. There's just a little bit of action we got to do. So all those things I described out there, they don't manage themselves. Somebody has to put the stuff in and know what comes out, set it all up and all. That process comes down to somebody. It comes down to you, the account holder, first. All right. And then you can maybe move that off onto somebody else. So there's a dark side to this. LinkedIn doesn't care for this too much. LinkedIn wants you to sit there on your computer looking at ads on the side of these profiles. And I'm saying, maybe we can use a tool to do that instead. So you don't have to sit there at the keyboard creating page views for LinkedIn, clicking on ads, right? That's their process. They do not like this, but they've been losing in the courts. LinkedIn's been having some issues with, gosh, that data is public data out there. We're showing it to the whole world out there. You can't make it private. There's other things as well. This is right from September 2019. So there's multiple court things probably will go on and stuff, but at least right now they're 0 for 2. So, that's a green light in many people's worlds here. My community out here just loves this article. We talked about the campaigns creating relationships. They connect to people. We send messages to people. We get conversations. We talk to them. We send emails to them. We get that stuff going. But keeping track of that just on LinkedIn is kind of difficult. Much of our coaching is about how to keep track of stuff. If you get a message on LinkedIn, for example, how do I get back to that message? Just push down, then down and down. Well, there's ways to bookmark. You can bookmarking systems and all. And that's kind of what we cover in coaching, is how to do that. But the other really big deal, and I end on really big stuff. There's one bigger than this, but it's the data. Everybody you touch on LinkedIn using these systems and tools brings data that goes ideally into a CRM system where you can have those other relationships, the email relationships, keeping notes, keeping stuff centralized. And also, as employees come and go, the data that they put into the CRM system stays as they leave. Their profile goes, but guess what? The data that we got from the campaigns, is in the corporate coffers here, creating greater value for the company. This is my favorite part. My favorite part. The future is one where, it's going to get a little harder before it gets a little easier. We're being bombarded with stuff from all these different places, everywhere. And artificial intelligence and software are going to create an inbox that's really beautiful to use, that just has just what we want. Our inbox from Facebook and LinkedIn and Gmail all together in one spot. I'm looking at a record and I can decide, do I want to Facebook them or link them or email them or tweet them or whatever I want to do, whatever action I want to take, all from one spot. The feed, what these people are talking about, all comes into one place. Your network on LinkedIn is sort of intersected with your network in other places, with your contacts stuff. This is where it's headed. I'm working on software right now to do that. I'm visiting with some VCs. I've got some action happening. This is where it's going. It's going to be easier. There's a little mini me running in your computer out there that realizes what you want and what you need. And it acts on your behalf with artificial intelligence techniques that are not too far in the future. This stuff is here right now. Unbelievable apps being made. Well, I understand that that's a lot. And maybe you'd like a little bit of help. So Here's the do-it-yourself help. All right, I've got 2 great pieces of do-it-yourself help here. This site here, navigatinglinkedin.com. Lots of free guides. You want to get the industry guide there so you're not targeting industries you shouldn't, you know, things of such nature. So let's see. So, all right, just going here. Yes, all right. So next, freebie. And this is really special here. Okay. I have a campaign white paper. It's 20 pages. It's a special PDF file. Okay. And it goes over all the aspects that I covered here. In fact, you'll see some slides from here in the PDF there. You have to email me here or somehow for me to get it to you because I don't have a landing page for this yet. There's not a place. It's not on Navigating LinkedIn yet. It will be in a month or so. But if you want it now, you know, it's a version of this PowerPoint actually that works really, really well here. Okay. So this is kind of what we do. I coach individuals. We train sales teams just like I described. Okay. All the things that we talked about here are part of a coaching program. They're also part of a done-for-you service program, if you like. And there's plenty of gray areas in between, especially if you have an assistant or something. There's a lot of gray areas. So this is how to reach me. There's my email. There's the Navigating LinkedIn link. I'm available to do 30-minute calls if folks would like. And you know what the topic would be, but I know there's private things that often you don't want to discuss out in front of a group sometimes. And I just wanted to make sure that people, you know, felt free that they could do that.